9:32, we start our event. Namaste to all. I am Nisha, the CEO of the NCCSD. On behalf of NCCSD, we welcome you all in the UNFCCC side event, Building Self-Reliant Farmers in Arena of Climate Change for the Food Security, the Indian Perspective. First of all, we thank to UNFCCC to allocate the time slot for this event. And especially thanks to WFO, who gave us the opportunity to present this event on this platform. At present, the world was undergoing one of the most difficult times since last 1 year. This is due to the COVID-19 phenomena, pandemic, and continuing with the intensity of the adverse climate event. In the world, in the different parts, we were faced another natural disaster like hurricanes, earthquake, and floods. This has affected the livelihood of the people, a big challenge for the food security. In the India, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister, has taken a series of measures to meet the challenges of the livelihood and food security and has been successful to overcome it. Today, we have occasions to share and learn how we convert these challenges into the opportunities, as we have experts from the different country, from the different side like industry sides, FAO, WFO, GOXA, ICR, FAMU, participants from the Africa, and we have another participants also. Not only that, but we have a farmer organizations and farmers on this platform. It is an excellent chance, and COVID teaches how human help us to each other in the complex situations to share the experience and learn from each other country. As I just give a very brief about today's program. Today, our speaker includes Shri Ashwin Bhai Shroff, who heads the consortium of the NGOs working in the more than 1,000 villages of the Gujarat state of India. He will start with the ground situation. He will also followed by Dr. Maheshwari, who heads the ICR Institute on Dryland Research and implement the climate resilient initiatives. We have a Dr. Atri, who is Additional Director General from Indian Meteorological Department, Government of India, which is responsible for the climate-related services. We have a Vice Chancellor of the Anand Agricultural University of the Gujarat State of India. We have a Shekhar Bansale, who introduced the low water rise by rice cultivation system and work in the Maharashtra state of the India. We have a farmer organizations Atapi, who worked for the farmers of the Gujarat of the India. Not only that, but we are very lucky. We have international speakers who are our close associates, Dr. Federica from the FAO Rome. We always feel like the Federica is a part of the NCCSD and we got always her support. We have a Dr. Caris, Dr. Luisa, the head of the policy development, WFO, UK. We have a Dr. Mbuya from the Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University. And in the end, when we have all presentations, Dr. Sadamate will summarize this event in the end. We have another international speakers also, and we hope to continue after 1 hour also, as our Zoom connection is more hours to have a benefits view of the other participants, because I just able to see the Richard Cote, the Maria, the Rabika. We have a international participants. If they would like to share their experience, then we have that opportunity also. So I am not taking much of the time. But now I request for the opening remarks for Shri Ashwin Bhai Shroff for his address. Ashwin Bhai Shroff.
Ashwin Bhai, you are on mute. You are on mute.
Shri Ashwin Bhai.
mute per se.
Nisha Bennett had muted me, so now, okay, I'm unmuted. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Okay, fine. So, like I was saying, I'm very happy to join this forum. I'm sure we will have wonderful discussions and we will learn a lot. And yeah, it's a very important, very versatile panel. So, thank you very much, the organizers, both local and international, for inviting me. Uh, as was briefly mentioned, uh, I'm part of a group called the Excel Group in terms of the corporates that we have. And we have a large number of NGOs, about 8 in number, which work in many parts, but especially our focus has been the Gujarat and the Maharashtra state. And as Nisha Ben mentioned, we are working in about 1,000 villages. But villages is one part, we do a lot of work. I'm not an expert in the technical sense of the term, but can say with happiness and pride that our family, the Shroff family, and our group, the Excel group, consisting of companies as well as NGOs, have been engaged with agriculture and rural communities for over 50 years and have attempted to understand both the problems and also the opportunities available in the rural areas in agriculture and allied fields, and have been working along with the communities with whom we work, have tried to come up with innovative and cost-effective solutions. So this has been our attempt. Our group has been working in various subjects touching these communities, such as natural resources like water, which are becoming very, very precious. Along with that, dairying and or animal husbandry, as it is called, the management of the soil health, the crop nutrition in a correct, balanced manner, along also the crop protection, whether chemical or otherwise, and post-harvest management of the crops which are grown, income security and augmentation for the farmers and the rural population. Uh, Also, very importantly, introduction and I would say reintroduction of many crops, some new crops in the new areas, and also some forgotten crops which were considered poor crops, but they are finding a relevance again. So some of the coarse cereals, for example, we are reintroducing them. And last but not the least, climate change, particularly management, and I would say I would like to emphasize reversal of climate change, not merely management, but reversal of climate change. I would briefly share some of the work that we have done in these specific areas. Number one is water, water security, and responsible, sustainable use of water uh, by building, for example, check dams, which are small dams, not built by large government dams or on rivers. These are small dams which can be managed by the communities. The building of check dams, recharging of the groundwater, promotion of drip irrigation, kind of responsible water management techniques. Also, the new emerging problems like waters are getting harder. There's a lot of to dissolve solids in that. Waters are becoming saline, so you have to manage these waters. Not only the quantity, but also the quality of water needs to be managed. So we have done some interesting work in these areas. Next one is providing income security and augmentation of income to the farmers by promoting not, other professions which are allied to the farming. For example, animal husbandry or dairy. If the same farmer allocates part of his land to growing fodder or grass and has a few animals which give milk and which also generate the waste, which is going back to the soil and it keeps the soil healthy. So like that, it can be a circular economy kind of a thing, and both supplement each other. So this is one more attempt. We have promoted mixed farming, and similarly, poultry, fishery also can be promoted along with farming. So these are also things that can be done. The third area is management of soil health. As many of us are aware that the soils have been overuse of fertilizers has created problem for the soils which have become hard. It does not hold water and creates problem. So while the soil health management, so while agriculture and dairy farming complement each other and help maintain the soil health, a pioneering effort work done by our group has been in the area of solid waste management, especially the waste that we all generate in the cities. Uh, for example, food waste. So this is what gets generated. So cities are dirty and the soils are becoming poorer. So we have combined the two and we treat the waste in the cities, convert it into compost using microbiological processes which are very benign. And then the compost which comes out can go to the farms and improve the soil health. And of course, when the soil health improves, both the physical, chemical, and biological parameters of the soil improve. And for example, the retention capacity of the soil goes up. So if there's a drought, the rain which had occurred earlier, there's some moisture still remaining. If there is too much rain, excessive rain, the drainage quality of the water also improves. So it helps in really making the soil very resilient and very good. With this, the climate proofing also occurs during droughts and floods, and it also helps in reducing the chemical fertilizer use, which to start with has been overused. They are definitely useful, but when you overuse, it leads to the soil health problems. So that has been done. The next area that we have been working in is the introduction and even reintroduction of some of the forgotten crops. So I would give two examples that we have attempted. One is, as I mentioned earlier, the coarse cereals, which are now finding their own place in the place of the whole calories and nutrition that the human beings require. So we need to not only give calories, but we also need to give nutrition. So the micro elements which should be there, for example, zinc, iron, etc., which come along with these coarse cereals. They can grow in not very good quality land. They don't need a lot of water. They are relatively short-term crops. So all of these are really the good qualities of the coarse cereals. So we have looked at one which was being grown in one of the areas where we work. It is called Nachni or Ragi. I don't know the English name for that, but this has been revived by us. And very interestingly, three groups of women are working in this crop. There's a group of women farmers who grow it. There's another group of women who process it into value-added products, ready-to-eat products. And the third group is involved in marketing. So three groups of ladies are empowered using this old crop, which is already known in that area. So it was not really new, but putting the whole package together has really helped. Another area that we have worked in which is I think very important, and as the world goes through different environment related problems, is that like I said earlier, not only water is becoming scarce, but the quality of water is going down. Either it is saline or it has got too much of dissolved salts, so which makes it difficult to use for agriculture in our houses, etc. So imparting salinity resistance, where the soil or the water has got a lot of salt in it, becomes very important. So we have working with some very well-known universities and also the ICAR, which is our premier body, the apex body in agricultural research. We have worked on groundnut as well as the salinity in the water. Interestingly, said if this can be done, so we are now going to attempt making it in the, and we are very happy. Now coming to the end of my presentation, understanding weather and climate patterns is of course in a way that is why we are meeting today. So understanding the weather and climate patterns, providing timely information and agro-meteorological advisories to the farmers is very, very important now. We have been doing this. We have a special organization called ICSER, Along with that, we have another organization called CC Shroff Research Institute. So both of them work together to provide the advisories to the farmers that either there's going to be a shortage of rain, too much rain is coming, maybe some insects will appear, some fungi might appear on your crops. All these are becoming very, very important to the farmers to better deal with the weather related problems. So this is one more area that we have done. And the last thing which I would like to share, which is a very, very new innovative work. I briefly touched on the subject of climate reversal, climate change reversal, not merely mitigation, not merely adaptation. You need to reverse it. So as Mayank told all of ones who must correct it. Things is photosynthesis dioxide. Very large scale. So people typically talk that yes, if we plant millions of trees, it will be reversed. But where is the land to plant millions of trees? Where is the water to feed all those growing trees? So what we looked at was that can there be any vegetation which does not require these? So we hit upon seaweeds, which grow as the name suggests. They grow in the sea, so you don't need land. You don't need fresh water. It grows much faster than land-based crops. So this is what we have taken up. Last 3 years we have been working on this. The results are very encouraging, and it is such a versatile crop. It gives a lot of biomass, huge quantity through photosynthesis. So it takes away the carbon dioxide. It does not need land or fresh water. And it provides a basket of solutions. So one word which is being used for seaweeds is that if you look at from the refining point of view, today, so far there have been petroleum refineries. These can become biorefineries and it can give a large number of products. And water, food, energy, crop nutrients, value-added products can come out. So it's a wonder crop and we are working on it. We'll be happy to share our experiences with the group and the other people. So we are hopeful that the climate change can be reversed, can be managed effectively. So farmers need not be victims of this. They will actually be contributors. Farmers and fishermen both can become contributors. So thank you very much for the opportunity, Kirit Bhai, and now I'm through. So thank you very much. I look forward to the others.
Thank you so much, Ashwin Bhai, for your address. Now I request to Dr. Maheshwari for her address. Dr. Maheshwari.
Good afternoon, distinguished delegates, and good morning to the delegates from abroad, those who have joined. Can you please share my presentation, or you would like me to?
Sure.
Please share my presentation. As we all know, there are several initiatives of the Government of India for the climate resilient agriculture or coping with the climate change, basically. And we know that out of these, several missions, like for example, the National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture, or Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture, National Mission of Oil Seeds and Oil Palm, National Mission on Agricultural Extension and Technology, Integrated Scheme of Agricultural Marketing, then Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, Soil Health Card System, and several others. One important of these schemes or flagship projects of the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Nisha Ben, please put it on the full screen mode.
Yes,
yeah, thank you. So I will be briefly touching upon the national innovations on climate resilient agriculture, basically to enhance the resilience of Indian agriculture which is and covering the entire gamut of the agriculture, including the livestock and fisheries and crops and natural resource management. This particular project, flagship project of the Indian Council of Agriculture Research, is addressing, and also we have a wealth of technologies across the country in the National Agriculture Research and Education System. So demonstrate some of these site-specific technology packages on farmers' fields so that to cope with current climate variability. So Shri Ashwin Shroff sir told just now about the reversal of climate change and so on. These are long-term goals. Climate variability, every year it happens. So within the year also. So we are also trying to address that. And another important, most important aspect is the capacity enhancement of the stakeholders, starting from the farmers to the agricultural scientists, everyone, you know, in the scheme who are involved. So this particular program involves the strategic research institutions, as well as it also includes several Krishi Vigyan Kendras or farm science centers. Now, in this entire program, we have developed, the council has developed district agricultural contingency plans. These are very important to cope with the climate change or climate variability. What are the agricultural contingency plans? And also we try to have these district based and also sensitize the states, different states about these plans. These are available in the farmer portal of the Government of India, Ministry of Agriculture, Farmers Welfare portal, and also in the website of Central Research Institute for Dryland Agriculture. Next, please. So next, we can also, Nisha, when can I have the next slide? Also,
Yes.
along with this, we also have different packages, as I mentioned, I think for food security and enhancing the climate change coping ability. I think we need to more and more, research is one long-term again goal, but we need to focus on the participatory technology demonstration. I will be focusing in the coming 2-3 minutes on this particular aspect, that in this particular program, climate resilient villages are being envisaged, that is enhancing the resilience and adaptive capacity of farmers to climate variability. And these particular villages actually have been selected based on their vulnerability to climate change, starting from, say, climate variability, that is whether it could be drought and heat, and or salinity, drought and flood, and heat wave and cold wave, water deficit, flood, and so on. So about the cluster-based approach has been taken, and about 151 climatically vulnerable districts have been selected, and in these districts, the climate variabilities are being addressed through participatory demonstration of technologies. Next. So the idea is to saturate these technologies across the villages, so that, you know, that what are the various technologies which are available, like the natural, you know, under the natural resource management, it could be the carbon sequestration potential of the agroforestry systems, or developing the greenhouse gas inventories, soil carbon sequestration, and climate resilient management practices. And also in terms of crops, it could be development of stress tolerant crop varieties, demonstration of the stress tolerant crop varieties. Basically, idea is to focus the enhancing the capability of the farmers to cope with the climate variability. Similarly, we know that several pests and diseases are coming up new because of climate change and variability. So addressing this climate related pests and diseases, as well as climate smart farm machinery, which is very, very important. As you heard in the introductory remarks also, the climate smart farm machinery are very important, which have low global warming potentials, and also estimating the emissions from various systems. So all these are being demonstrated in the institutional interventions, which are most important. The presence of the climate custom hiring centers, seed banks, fodder banks, etc., are being enhanced. So this particular NICRA climate national innovations on climate resilient agriculture, the climate resilient technologies are being scaled up across the various states, along with our program of 151 villages also, where across the country in different states, like you can see from Maharashtra to Odisha to different other MP, Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and so on. So this is also being synergized with the NMSA, PMKSY, of the IFAD. Next, please. So this is some of the, in nutshell, I can say some of the efforts are being focused on the enhancing the capability of the farmers so that their income gets better, as well as the climate change coping ability gets better. So in this, the capacity building is a key for adoption of these practices. So several farmers from about 2011, when it started, several farmers are being trained. Next. So this is a very, very important aspect of capacity enhancement at the village level, at the district level, and for the, whether it could be for the farmers or the agricultural workers and so on, and agricultural officers at the district level or state level. So these are some of the ideas and concepts which the national innovations on climate resilient agriculture is being focused. So I would like to thank you all for your patient listening, and I am happy to answer any of the queries, questions. And I am presently the acting director of the Institute, Central Research Institute for Dryland Agriculture, which is of the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maheshwari, for your address. Now I request to Dr. Atri for his address. Dr. Atri.
Respected Dr. Salat, Dr. Nisha, distinguished delegates from India and abroad, this is really a very important side events where we will be discussing this self-reliant. You are aware that government is focusing on self-reliant India. Self-reliant India can only be possible when our farmers will be becoming self-reliant. And this side event on this lines of this UNFCCC, this is very important. You may be aware that India Meteorological Department has been providing weather-related services since 1945 when we started Farmers Weather Bulletin or AI, All India Radio, then 1976 at state level agromet bulletins were started with the State Agriculture Department. Then in 1991, this agroclimatic zone levels, let's say 130 center were started. Then in 2008, at district level, say around 40 to 50 kilometer. And then in 2018, we started at block level, say 10 into 10 kilometers. This has been possible due to improvement in modeling framework. Say in 1991, model regulations were of the order of 250 kilometers. And then they have come down to say 2017 or 18, 12 kilometer a block level size. And we are running 3 into 3 kilometer models and also working on 1 kilometer resolution models. So from this block level, say 10 to 12 kilometers in years, we will be going to the villages. That is the ultimate target. And many times Dr. Salat mentions not only this agrometeorological services, he always talks about the climate services so that our farmers can take long-term decisions because climate is changing. And you are well aware that even predictions of the climate for this century by 2100, most of the global models say that climate will be warming and temperature will be increasing. And people are now talking that if we can restrict by 2 degrees centigrade, it will be the huge task. But as far as India is concerned, so most of the models show the India will also be warming like the globe, but there will be more rainfall. But catch is there, more variability will be there, more flood and more drought will be there. But once rain is will be more than our engineers, our scientists, our university expert should flow of water. There should not be any runoff. So even India Meteorological Department has now started in the direction of that. Many times when we'll say every house weather, every time weather. So every house should have weather anytime they want to have weather, so that the farmers can take decisions. In globe also, you may be aware that in 2009, when World Climate Conference third was held, there was consensus that we should utilize all climate information, climate change variability information for societal needs. So all our efforts should be for the societal benefits, and this 5 into 5 into 5, this system was adopted where 5 the areas that global, regional, national, state and local level, and 5 area agriculture, food security, health, water, disaster, risk reduction and energy, and 5 parameters of the observation, including user interface. So all those were started. Even on 3rd of this November, there was a report by National Council for Applied Economic Research by a third party of the Agromet Advisory Services provided by India Meteorological Department at the block level. They have come out with the its economic impact assessment, and they find that it is contributing of the order of 38,000 crores to GDP every year. And they have, this survey reported that if farmers can take decision, 9 interventions were there who took around 1 to 4 interventions or practices. The increase in order of the was of the order of 50,000 rupees per hectare, and if they take 5 to 9, then it was 1 lakh. Only the decision taking was there. And this service we are utilizing all government agencies. The weather-based information is translated into the agromet advisories by agriculture experts working at state agriculture university, research institutions, ICR, IITs. Even this bulletin we are sending to farmers. Even 43 million farmers, they are receiving over the mobiles. State agriculture department, state central agriculture department, farmers producer organizations, Kisan call centers, NGOs, NCCSD, even radio, Doordarshan, everything that they are helping us to take this information to the farmers. And I just want to focus couple of points that because farmers are the backbone of our whole mechanism for food security and agriculture production, we must focus on the effects. We must focus that fruits of the science must reach to the rural areas. My preceding Dr. Maheshwari just mentioned about climate smart villages or innovations. We have to put emphasis on the initiative, innovations, even new technologies which are coming like artificial intelligence, robotic, value chain, big data. We have to utilize all these informations so that we can provide farmers better and better services. Even I mentioned that our target is to reach to the all village level with the agromet advisories. We need support of all of you, and we are already working with the WOTR Pune, Krida Hyderabad to automate these services so that this advisory generation at village level, because those will be more than 3.3 million on every Tuesday and Friday in regional languages. So we are developing the system, decision support system for all agromet advisory these services. With this, I stop here. Thank you very much and look forward for a very fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Atri, for your address. Now I request Dr. Vyas, Vice Chancellor, Anand University, for his address. Dr. Vyas.
Thank you, Nisaben. Scientists and visionaries world over who have joined today's web meeting. I'm very happy to join with you and share some of my thoughts regarding research, how to go ahead in research for climate change scenario. I would like to say that over the centuries, we are fighting with the climate, learning the climate, and to save our agricultural crops. And to do better and better, to have the food security for the mankind in the world, we have to concentrate some of the newer and newer research areas, and especially to protect our almost all crop, especially our food, fiber, and cereals from climate change effect. And in last century, and especially in last 50 years, we have observed that climate change is directly competing with us for the food availability and food quality also. And the rain pattern has been changed at a great level, and because of that our agricultural crops are starving. And because of this rain change pattern, I have observed that in some of the area where there was no good rain, especially in the desert part in the Middle East, now we are getting good rain. So these are the areas where we have to focus, where the rain was not earlier, but now we have sufficient rain. We have to go for agriculture in such area. But our main target right now is to reduce the cost of cultivation. From our Anand Agriculture University, we scientists are trying to reduce the cost of cultivation and to grow better with improving the soil health, because soil health is the main thing for the growth of crop and to for the best production and produces. So in that, the concept which is coming up is the zero budget natural farming in Gujarat especially, and there we have to recycle our maximum waste material, and all the uh, and some of the organic matter which is available from the animal husbandry, all is required to be recycled by the farmers, and that is very much useful for them to reduce the use of costly chemical fertilizer and pesticide, because we know that chemical fertilizer and pesticide at the time of uh, their production and use, both the time they are spoiling the environment, and they are adding a lot of greenhouse gases in the environment. So for that, the concept which is coming up to recycle the natural material, natural resources within the farm is the best. And I can say that once the soil health is been taken care, then uh, food security will be met. I would like to say that cereal, pulses, and oilseed we are concentrating, and especially in case of climate change, we are also learning the scenario of pests and diseases. That what is the effect of cloudy weather? What is the effect of humidity on pest and disease scenario, and how to do best management practices to avoid uh, uh, field losses of crop yield. And one more point I would like to say that sucking pest has been observed because of this climate change. Sucking pests are increasing in a big way in the uh, on many crops, and they are also spreading some of the serious diseases, viral diseases, which can give 80 to 100% losses sometime in the crops. And to to protect that, it is very much important to understand the weather parameter and to correlate that with the crop pattern and their sowing as well as harvest dates. And there are several uh, biotic and abiotic stresses that is also to be taken care, especially Saurabh Sahib said some of the example about the microbes. I would like to say that PGPR in the root zone is very important. If PGPR is there in the root zone, they can protect the moisture level in the root zone, drying of the roots, and also uh, they can supplement about the salinity or stress resistance to the crop. So these microbes are the life of the soil, and if we have good number of microbes in the soil, automatically our production will be more better, and we can fight against the drought situation also. Um, then one more point is that in researchable area, how to reduce the uh, greenhouse gases. I would like to say that there are certain microbes, especially the methylotropic bacteria, which are present in the soil. We have to build up their population in the soil, and especially in agricultural crops, so they can reduce the methane emission, because for this carbon dioxide, we can grow more trees. Even the idea of seaweed is very good, because seaweed cultivation in vitro we can use simply carbon dioxide water. We can harvest the energy and also reduce the greenhouse gas pollution. So that is a very good idea. One of the speaker has focused. So our main aim is to have combination of organic and inorganic inputs in the soil to have the maximum crop productivity. That is our main area which we are focusing at Anand Agriculture University, and we have several modules we have developed and recommended to the farmers, are successfully helping them to grow better. And the one more important area is coming up is biofortification of the seeds and crop and fruit produces. That biofortification can also be done naturally. So instead of taking zinc, iron, and other elements from outside, we can have fortified food. So this is one area we are concentrating, and we have main concern of the breeding part, where we are concentrating on drought tolerant cultivars and saline tolerant cultivars, and that is the main area which will help us for more and more centuries which is coming up to sustain on this globe. And the last point I would like to say that in this corona 19, this pandemic situation, we realize that we need healthy food and some of the food supplement herbs also. So we are now concentrating on the herbs like turmeric and ginger, which is useful to us to build up the immunity towards the such serious diseases which is prevailing on the earth, and we are coming. So this to fight with that, we have to concentrate on more and more herb, and this herb which are growing in without pesticide and fertilizers will be more useful for us. And with these few points, I would like to say that Anand Agriculture University is committed and is doing best effort to for the farming community to provide new and new packages and new practices and new products to protect their crop from adverse situation, biotic abiotic stresses, and to harvest more and more food and food supplements. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vyas, for your address. Now I request to Shekhar Bhansavle for his address. Shekhar Bhansavle from Maharashtra.
Nishabin, is it connected?
Next માં જાઓ, નિશાબેન નથી.
Okay, sir. Now I request to Atapi, Dr. Jyotiban, Project Director, for his her address. Jyotiban.
Yeah, good afternoon and good morning to everybody. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Nishabin, for this opportunity. Our humble salutations to all, one and all who are present on this call.
Jyotiben,
yes.
The lighting is not good. If you can switch on the light or face the light. It's very dark.
Okay.
If you can.
I think if I have some restrictions, Shwin bhai.
Okay.
Sorry for that. Hope my voice will be able to compare for the video. I would.
Jyotiben, if you can just turn around, I think there will be lighter on your face.
Okay, I'll just try. I hope I'm now better visible now.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Can I have the presentation, Nishabin, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. As I was saying, we are all fellow travelers on the path of mitigating the biggest rival that we have faced till now, and as a organization working in 2 lakh of population, and with we started with 300 farmers, and now we have reached still 7,500 people, more than 10,000 people if we count the women that we are reaching. And we started with a small vision of creating an inclusive, empowered and just society. And as we kept on walking on the path, we realized that we are very closely following the 2030 targets of our sustainable development goals, and all our programs that we are working, whether they are livelihood program, whether they are health program, whether it's our initiative for holistic development of children, or our water and environment program, all of these efforts are sinking towards our 2030 goal, achieving the sustainable development goals. And we are committed, and our community is also committed towards that. Next slide, please. And we have arrived at a theory of change while working on this, is of Swa to Samuday. That is working from self to the community-based organizations. And these community-based organizations that we have very painstakingly cultivated, nurtured and mentored are now giving momentum to the development programs that has evolved in the area that we are working at present. And these are this is very, very proudly I'll say that UJAS is one of our Savings and Credit Society, our farmer producer organization, our persons with disabilities organization, the women cooperatives. Each and every community-based organization is contributing to the goal that we all are striving towards. Next slide, please. I said that we had a very humble start in 2008-9 with 4 villages and 300 families, and we are reaching now 53 villages in 2 blocks. Next slide, please. And as we said that we were contributing towards many sustainable development goals, but today we are going to talk about our interventions to end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture practices in the area that we are working. And I mean, we heard an industrialist, we heard, we heard a government policymaker, we heard a researcher from Agriculture University. And I mean, it very clearly indicated me that how our efforts are, sinking, and all that you all are doing is we are playing just a role of catalyst, but all that we are doing is whatever you are doing, we are making it possible that farmers are able to access those resources that has been very, very painstakingly cultivated by whether government or policymakers or researchers and our fellow organizations. The area that we are working is facing the same climate change impact in agriculture, in animal husbandry, and otherwise that any other area in the world is facing. And especially because this is a salinity ingress area, we are facing some special problems with the quality and quantity of the water that we have. Also, the land that is becoming more hard and impermeable, the irregular rainfall that is either it is too less or it is too much, that is impacting the farmer, small and marginal farmers that we are working with. Next slide, please. So what we are doing actually, what we adopted a twin track approach where we thought that we need to strengthen the traditional sources of livelihood, but also we have to create alternative sources of livelihood so that a family has a sustainable income. And I would say that whatever was said, like linking them to the productive researches of input and output, the knowledge that is generated in the universities, financial services that are given by the banks, the market opportunities that are created by the government now, and the value additions that have been the examples of value additions. For example, we have learned a lot from one of our fellow organizations like Shaw Foundation Trust, where they are doing exemplary work with the value addition of the agriculture products, and we are learning from everywhere, and we are taking this knowledge to the farmers, small and marginal farmers, so that they can double their agriculture productivity, and they can also enhance their income through this. And this is in sync with all the climate change resilient sustainable agriculture practices, with whatever Ashwin Bhai said, whether it is land remediation or promotion of biofertilizers, promoting zero budget natural farming, all that we are taking to the farmers, and very, very diligently farmers are picking up the guidance that is coming from all over there. But we have moved one step ahead now. What we have done is that this is not going to be enough. We have realized that all efforts we need to focus on our nutritional security, especially for the high-risk children, the pregnant and lactating women. We have observed malnutrition a lot in persons with disabilities, so we are focusing on that also. So this is a twin track approach where we are supporting the farmers to strengthen their capacities to fight with the climate change and its impact, but also become self-reliant in addressing these issues and not being dependent on the sources that are coming otherwise. So we have 240 groups with 6,000 group members, whether they're self-help groups, they are farmer learning groups, 500 plus cattle rearers. They are actively engaged in finding solutions to the impact of climate change that is creating havoc on their lives. And if you see the impact that this has created in 10 years, 12 years of journey till now, is we have this very, very committed to 40 groups of men and women farmers with 6,000 plus membership. And we have cultivated 1,000 good leaders in men and women farmers who are taking up the fight against the climate change. They have realized that unless and until they work for themselves, there is no way out. And there are more than 3,000 farmers who have now upgraded to newer technologies in agriculture practices. This has led to 30% reduction in usage of fertilizer cost. This is very, very, very important to notice that the fertilizer cost is going down because they are now rationally using the fertilizer. They are using practices which they had not earlier thought of, like
Even you will have to complete running out. Can you first finish in half a second? Because other speakers are waiting.
So if you see, sure. So this has definitely led to increase in income from almost 10% to doubling of income in almost 69%. And there are stories of change that we can share with you, where from cash crop to horticulture, vegetable cultivation, and on the practices that farmers have adapted to double their income and to gain the food security for themselves, for the families that they are supporting. And this has now come to a full circle where we are saying that in this COVID times, we are working towards nutritional security of all the vulnerable, as well as the food security of the all vulnerable groups. I thank you one and all. If you have any questions, definitely you can ask. My colleagues, Dr. Nandini Srivastav and Chandrika Ben are also on the call. If need be, they will all be able to address. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jyoti Ben, for your address. Now I request Dr. Federica from FAO for her address. Dr. Federica.
Hi, good morning to everybody. It's a great honor to be invited here to participate in this important event because this event is taking place at a critical stage in the global development calendar. We know that agricultural production food systems, especially in developing countries where agricultural communities are more vulnerable, are exposed by the severe impacts of climate change. And this situation has been made worse by the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, to solve these unprecedented global challenges on agricultural and food production, today's agriculture must get climate smart. We need to focus on sustainably increasing agricultural productivity and incomes, building resilience and adapting to climate change, and reducing or removing greenhouse gas emissions where this is possible. This can be an effective way to develop the agriculture sector in a manner that helps to achieve the 17 goals and associated targets of Sustainable Development Goals. FAO believes that who are the focus of food and agriculture if not farmers? Farmers that in this situation are the most vulnerable. In fact, farmers encounter obstacles when they implement improvement practices because they don't have security of land ownership, access to credit and information, including significant data, availability of labor, presence of social infrastructure. FAO, in order to promote a more wide and open access to the existing environmental and climate data, has released Earth Map, an advanced graphical interface of the Google Earth Engine platform, which will enable small farmers, students, experts to perform analysis in a cloud system. In addition, to cope with this situation, FAO believes that there is a need to make sure that the policy environment is ready to facilitate the change that needs to happen. In fact, adapting social assistance programs to protect farmers and vulnerable groups is fundamental, and countries can make their social protection programs climate sensitive by targeting vulnerable groups. An example of that is a project developed by FAO in Cambodia and Mongolia. The two projects closely with key government institutions in the agriculture, forestry, and other land use sector to strengthen capacity at the technical, institutional, and policy levels. Under the overall coordination of a national focal point, the project promotes robust and comprehensive national responses to climate change under the requirements of Paris Agreement. Through national focal point agencies, dissemination of good practices to other sectors is carried out, as well as to engage other priority sectors relevant to the implementation of NDC's targets. Another point that we need to raise is innovation and technologies. That is an important element to support a lifeline for farmers. FAO with EU is developing a project on water scarcity and raising full costs with a new irrigation method in Yemen. This is just an example. The project has set up 42 similar water pumps in various districts across the country. And it also focuses on improving water management, scaling up use of appropriate food production technology, improving value chains, and creating on-off farm employment opportunities. But farmers are called to play a significant role in providing a sustainable future. And farmers should gain a leading role in the global political processes on climate change and agriculture. Farmers should play this role based on the best practices that they are already implementing as practical solutions. And the policy should be farmers-driven, science-based, and result-oriented. Farmers, FAO believes that farmers deserve to be at the center of the decision-making process on agriculture and local, national, international levels. I'm glad that there is here today a representative by the WFO who, this organization created the Climemakers, who is an alliance who helps farmers to raise their voices. And another example of how platforms networks can create partnerships between different stakeholders, helping farmers to create these collaborations, is a Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture, is hosted by FAO in Rome. However, this is not enough. As broadly recognized, all stakeholders should act as one to address the increasing negative impact of climate change by securing adequate policies, technical financial conditions for increased productivity, building resilience and the capacity to adapt, and seeking opportunities to mitigate emission of greenhouse gases. FAO recognizes that this can be achieved through coordinated approaches that benefit from the comparative and complementary advantages of various specialized institutions and stakeholders, especially farmers. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Federica, for your address. Now I request to Ms. Luisa Volpe, Head of the Policy Department, WFO. Ms. Luisa?
Good morning. Namaste to all. Thank you very much for having me here. It won't be easy to speak after Federica. She's brought a very, very interesting and broad perspective. But I will try to provide you with the perspective from the farmer side. First of all, let me also tell you that India is particularly close to my heart. This is on a personal note. I have visited the rural areas in Gujarat and Maharashtra, and I saw the great potential of the agricultural sector in your country. At the production level, but also at the processing level. And I was really heartfelt about the engagement of people, how hard workers Indian people are, and how the institutions are trying to support them. So it is a very great honor for me to be with you today, and I hope that we can continue this conversation even further. The World Farmers Organization is an organization that represents farmers worldwide, and we already work together a lot with Dr. Shelat within the farmers constituency at the UNFCCC climate change negotiations. What WFO tries to do is to bring the perspective of the farmers in the international arena. And when it comes to climate change, we are particularly close to this issue because climate change is probably the first challenge for the farmers community. Farmers feel the effects of climate change every day when they put their hands in the soils. And they are very used at adapting to it, mitigating it, but I really liked the concept of reversing the climate change. Agriculture and farming is the only sector that is able to reverse the climate change effects, thanks to the carbon sequestration. There is no other sector that in this moment, in such a short time, can really bring a proactive and active contribution to the climate change trends. And this is a very important part of the discussion because with this, farmers are really part of the solutions to the climate change, while we are often accused to be the responsibles for it. Actually, farmers have a great potential to really contribute to the solution. And so, to strengthen this concept and opportunity, as Federica was rightly saying, and thank you for that, we as WFO established this Climakers program, which is a farmers-driven climate change agenda. The intention of this agenda, which is based, by the way, on a global alliance with farmers organizations, but also with the other actors of the value chain and international organizations and NGO, the aim of the agenda is to really gather information and data from the farmers on the practices that they are already implementing to mitigate and adapt to the climate change, and take them to the governments in response to the Paris Agreement implementation. Because we know that farmers already have their own solutions, and our role is just to promote them with the government so that when they write their nationally determined contributions for the Paris Agreement, they already have the information at the hands. And the practices that we promote are assessed against the climate smart agriculture criteria. So the climate smart agriculture is for us the really solution to the climate change from the farmer side. And I'm really keen to also stimulate your organization to get in touch with us and give us your practices so that then we can promote them in the way to Glasgow 2021 now. In Glasgow at COP26, which is one of the main appointments for the 2021 in the global agenda, countries are supposed to propose their solutions at country level. So we really feel that in that situation, farmers will have to say something important that they are already doing, by the way. The second appointment for the 2021 will be the Global Food System Summit, in which the sustainability of food systems will be promoted. And even there, we think that farmers should play a key role because farmers are the key players in food systems, but it is also important to say that sustainability of food systems cannot ignore the sustainability of the farming practices and the viability to the farmers. And for that, we think that farmers need the right policy environment, of course, but also the right investments and the right capacity building programs to really become the leaders of the food systems, the leaders of sustainability, and first of all, the leaders of themselves, because farmers have already a great potential. They just need global support to bring this on the table. Thank you very much. It was nice to be with you today.
Thank you so much. And definitely share our experience with you. And we definitely work with you, identify the synergy, and then move forward for 2021. Thank you so much. Now I request to, we have international participations, Richard Cotti, Ambra Raggi, Soko Tolera, Stefano, Tencel, Valeria, Giovanna from WFO, Gloria, Daini Landry, Hamid from Iran. So I think I request Richard Cotti from Ghana for a very brief address. Dr. Richard Cotti, you would like to share your experience?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please do. Okay. I'm speaking from Ghana, from the College of Agriculture Education. I thank the presenters. The presentation is quite educative, and I'm grateful to be part of this program. All that I want to say is that climate change is real. And in Ghana here, it's having a toll on our farmers. And our farmers are large contributors of climate change. This makes them major stakeholders in the fight against climate change. Over here in Ghana, we are experiencing decrease in flow of our streams. Our wetlands are shrinking, and they are no longer reliable for the projects that our farmers used to engage them in. And then another challenge we have is moisture retention, because we have a problem with erosion. Farmers they have to increase their irrigation frequencies. And I'm glad some of the speakers made mention of improving crop varieties. I think that is one of the things that Ghana is trying to look at, to get new varieties that can withstand the changes. And then again, somebody talked about climate risk management. And that is another issue that Ghana is looking at. And then on-farm water harvesting to help the farmers improve the water that they receive on the farm so they can improve their production. Another challenge that we have and we are trying to look at is the farmer-based organization. Our farmer-based organizations are very weak. The coordination is very poor. They don't work together. It's a challenge that we are trying to work on, because without the farmer-based participation, it's going to be difficult, because like one of the speakers said, the farmers, they have some of the solutions, just that they don't know how to apply them. So I'm glad to be part of this program, and I'll be interested in joining other Zoom discussions like this on climate change. We are trying to set up a climate smart farm, climate smart agriculture and rural development in our college. So I'll take this opportunity to, I think Dr. Kirit is aware about this. We are trying to have some partnership with them. So we start this project and help our farmers to reduce their contribution to climate, the emission of climate greenhouse gases. I'm very grateful to be part. This is all that I can say. I thank all the presenters, and thank you very much.
Dr. Kote. Dr. Hamid is with us. Hamid, you would like to share something very brief? Dr. Hamid from Iran. Hamid. Dr. Shekhar Bhansale is now with us. So I request Bhansale ji for the brief address. Shekhar ji.
Namaste, namaste.
Namaste, namaste.
Hey, namaste. Thank you so much. You know, it's been really wonderful to listen to Luisa from WFO. Looks like she's from the farmers organization. I like the concepts. She mentioned that farmers are the solution. I'm farmer, by the way. Thank you very much. Climate smart agriculture. Yes, absolutely yes. And sustainability and viability to farmers is absolutely yes. In fact, we have a solution. We say it's a no-till conservation agriculture regenerative method of farming. It's a rice-based farming system. We call it SRT. I need to share my slides. Nisha ji.
Sure.
Yeah, we have this new technique technique which is called can I get to share myself?
No, sir. We are hosts. We are sharing, sir. 1 minute.
Oh, gee. All right. Okay. All right. Got it. So we're going to talk about building self-reliant farmers in arena of climate change. Next, please. Next slide. Yeah. So here you can see this technique. I'm going to be addressing Louisa this because that's where I found the hope, and it's fine. Thank you, Louisa. This is the rice cultivation in Maharashtra, and and in the left slide here in this slide you can see this is a rice which is cultivated by our technique, and side by side this is the rice which is cultivated by the traditional method. No, previous slide, same slide, earlier slide, yeah. And here what we are showing you, this is a mango tree which is covered by flood. Up to the flood was 15 feet tall on the top of this field, and all the fields nearby are all vanished. They became maroon, while this our technique rice, it survived. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, as you can see here, this is again the same situation. This is SRT, which is my technique. This is a climate smart regenerative method of farming. This is rice-based farming system, and side by side there was this last year. This picture is from last year, and the paddy crop is completely marooned. It's gone. It's vanished because of the flood. And you can see the same situation here: SRT and traditional farmer. Next. So this is climate smart method. If there is less rainfall, next slide. If there is less rainfall, the crop still survives. And if there is no rainfall, if there is excess rainfall, the crop still survives. Now this is the crop which is taken. This is Dolichos lablab. It's a type of bean which grows with very little water. But nowadays, because of climate change, there are these untimely rainfall. This year, last fortnight, it rained in our area. And this is a picture of a SRT farmer who had planted Dolichos lablab. He planted Dolichos lablab, and you can see it rained. Now this is a farm which is traditionally grown lablab, and you can see his complete crop is gone because excess rain, excess water, it just decomposes the plant. Whereas this farmer, this picture is taken on 2011 and this is 22. Within 2 days, you can see the soil is well drained, and that's why the crop has survived. And this is one of the biggest advantage, that because this is a climate smart method, that this method is like insurance to the farmer. Next slide, please. Next. You can see why our technique, we started working on it for my own farm, and I was really worried. It was a terrible situation that I had to depend on power tractors, I had to depend on labor, and I had to depend on lot of rainfall, the water. All the three things are not, there is no guarantee, because the tractor, if I have to rent, the rental tractor will come. There is no guarantee. Similarly, once you have, and if you want excess water for puddling, the rain, there is no guarantee. Plus, there is no irrigation in most of the country, most of our Indian situation, in case of rice growing situation. And once you have water and you have tractor, then there is no guarantee of lots of labor for transplanting. So three dependencies are gone with SRT method. Next slide, please. So these dependencies are gone because we have permanent raised beds, and on permanent raised beds, we do dibbling of rice seed right in the beginning. So the root establishment of the seedling is so good that even with, and then one of the most important thing that happens, the organic carbon level starts growing up in our field, because each time we leave the roots of the previous crop in the soil to decay in situ, that increases the organic carbon. And once the organic carbon goes up, our water holding capacity goes up, water drainage capacity goes up, and water exchange is improved, because of which all these three dependencies, and this is what you see, the happy farmers. One of the most important thing of all this is our theme, that we want to see the farmer happy. Our objective is to get the farmer happy farmer. Next slide, please. So these are the things that, this is how we have defined our SRTs and conservation agriculture, zero till method of farming, which does not cause atrocity of tillage, completely stops soil erosion, promotes natural production of earthworms. This is for the first time in the world we have demonstrated presence of earthworms in the rice field, increases organic carbon of the soil, considerably increases productivity of the land, and added effect of amazing happiness to the amazing happiness and confidence to the farmer. Next. So our thrust is for happy farmer, and this is what we need. We need to stop this. This is degenerative method of farming, and this is a regenerative method of farming. With our method of farming, we have checked that our organic carbon each year goes up by 0.5%. We add 0.5% carbon, organic carbon, to the soil, and increasing 0.5% organic carbon is equivalent to 9 tons of carbon dioxide fixing per year per acre. And this is a situation which can be taken a very important note by the rest of the world to support the farmer. And next, please. Next. Yeah, so this is it. This is what we want. This is the kind of result we get. Not only happy farmer, happy environment, and happy motherly land. Thank you very much. We are there on the YouTube. We are there all over. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Shekharji. Now I request to Dr. Sadamate for the summary. Dr. Sadamate.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I should take, Nisha Ben, I should take what, about 10 minutes or 5 minutes?
Yes, sir. 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Okay. You are there. Okay. Before I go to the summary of today's proceedings, I have a couple of submissions which I requested Shelat sir that I should submit before I go for a summary. My own points are, in fact, I have been submitting to Shelat sir also, to you and to Frederick also, that in capacity building of the farmer and farmer empowerment is the most important thing in climate change strategies to be reflected in the field. That is point number one. And therefore, what is important is improving performance of our extension services, whether it's a public sector extension or a private sector extension or farmer driven extension. I mean, unless we reorient them, perhaps they will not be able to capture and make farmers adopt those kind of measures. Important along with this is technology and technology options, and policy environment support by the federal governments, by the state governments, by the district administration, by the farmer organizations at the grassroots level, and international organizations. These are a couple of submissions from my side to begin with. Now let me come to how the proceedings went through. I must compliment Dr. Shelat sir and Nisha madam, NCCSD family as a whole, for organizing this important side event, where we got national and international participation, particularly Lisa and Madam Federica. Ashwin Bhai's initial kickoff was very important, and the word which many have been hearing and he's promoting is how to reverse the climate change. with focus on soil management, water management, waste management, promotion of nutritious, etc. Maheshwari Madam had given a very good presentation, given different technology options, but very importantly, she mentioned about very important program of the Government of India, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, that is NICRA, that is National Innovations in Climate Resilient Agriculture, where she mentioned that how contingency plans are promoted for different kind of climate variabilities, and how they are working with district level farm science centers, or we call it as Krishi Vignan Kendras, 150 of them, and more importantly, promoting farmer participatory approaches and demonstration of technologies. Atri sir's presentation was another very important intervention, where he mentioned that strengthening climate change advisory is very important, and particularly we may have to go from block to village now, and involving public, private institutions and farmer organizations. Vyas sir has attracted our attention to very important issue on how to improve the soil health, promoting microbial solutions, and in fact, while emphasizing on food and nutritional security, Vyas sir also brought our attention to recycling of an organic waste which are available in situ, reduction of cost control mechanism. He also highlighted. Now, Jyoti Bain, she broadly highlighted on promoting livelihood options, promoting holistic approach, promoting crop diversification, focusing on small and marginal farmers particularly, and where she mentioned that how they have began with small little intervention, and now they are active in 53 villages and covering 7,500 villages. Richard has shared wonderfully well his Ghana experiment, and mentioned down that the prevailing stress on the natural resource management. He highlighted on what are the risk management strategies, and he also mentioned that why not we start promoting Lucy's point on how to build farmer organizations around the climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies. Shekhar sir is another very important player. I have fortune to visit his experiment once, twice, and I have seen myself how a local innovation can make a big space in the overall strategy. Dr. Shekhar's experiment is spreading far and wide, nationally, internationally, and the simple message is conserve the soil health, let the soil generate its own flora and fauna, and then make it healthy for the crop. Shekhar sir also he calls it as a SRT, his own technique, own innovation. It is getting national, international recognition. Thank you, Shekhar sir. Now let me come to Federica, a good friend of NCCSD. We have been working together, and Madam Federica mentioned that climate change is a global challenge. But what is important is how farmers and farmer organizations will be able to access different services to make the climate change happen on the ground, and that was her point of concern. Madam mentioned about ICT platforms, how they are being promoted globally. She mentioned about Mongolia experiment, and said that unless multi-sectoral stakeholders join together, perhaps climate change action on the ground may not be facilitated. Madam also mentioned about innovations and technologies are very important, and so also policy environment which has to be farmer driven and farmer centric. Madam Luisa from World Pharma Organization mentioned pharma empowerment, pharma networking, reversing climate change. She endorsed Shroff Bhai's viewpoint. And more importantly, Madam Luisa mentioned about how to promote Paris Agreement solutions. She also mentioned how things are shaping up in Glasgow Summit and Food and Sustainability Systems Summit. But her basic point was how to make climate change interventions farmer-driven, farmer-centric, and capture the practices like Shekharji and promote them locally, nationally, internationally. These were some of the observations. I must, again, at the cost of repetition, I will say that complimenting Dr. Shelat sir, who is a national, international champion to fight on climate change issues. Sir, your interventions are known. Your participation and guidance in COPs is also known to the international community. And Nisha, then my 8 minutes are just completing. I must thank Nisha Ben, who is giving me this kind of responsibility in every webinar that Sadhamate. And more importantly, it's very important that we got wonderful international participation. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Nisha. Thanks every one of you. I may have missed one or two, but it doesn't matter because of time constraint. I just sandwiched myself. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sadhamate, for the brief summary. Now I move forward for the closing remarks, but before that, I would like to share, like we have a national participation also, an international participation also. So if anyone have a question, or if anyone they would like to share their experience very brief. Anyone would like to share their experience, or anyone have a question? So now I move forward for the closing remarks.
Nishaben, can I?
Yeah, yes, sir. Gopi, namaste, Gopi bhai. Yes.
Namaste. Yeah, thank you so much, sir, Nishaben and all of you. I thought I must express my gratitude to Shelat Saab for all this wonderful initiative. As our farmer friend last spoke, it's important to keep the farmer happy. But the farmer will be happy only if climate is also kept happy. In the sense, climate resilient measures are all put in place. I think that will be the most important, intervention. As Chandrasekhar rightly pointed out. I'll take just half a minute more. I think we all should congratulate Shelat Saab for completing almost 10 years. With the NCCSD coming into existence. And especially with the direct involvement in the conference. When typical of Shelat Saab, it was as productive as always. When Shalin, me, Shelat Saab were all sitting around the table, the idea of registering with the Conference of Parties came up. From then, from almost 2012, consistently, NCCSD has contributed enormously to all of this. So I thought I should take this opportunity to congratulate everyone, these wonderful minds who are here. I have just one point, which I'm sure the community of experts, including Vyas Saab and Maheshwari ma'am, would like to take. Will it be useful to therefore do a compendium of community-based initiatives that can provide policy inputs with respect to, number one, sustainability of these local initiatives? Thanks to Richard. Richard also referred to the local level initiatives. Will it be useful, therefore, to develop a compendium that can go to the next Conference of Parties that opens up questions? Like if Chandrasekhar has demonstrated SRT, the relevant questions will be what policy initiatives have to be put in place to upscale these initiatives. Vyas Saab also raised a question about pests coming up. I would like to ask Vyas Saab, sir, I'm a student of Professor T.N. Ananthakrishnan, the entomologist. The question I like to therefore ask is, what is the importance of chemical ecology are we giving to our policy initiatives? I will therefore stop by saying, I think a compendium of local level practices with policy open-ended questions is the need of the hour. I think the best engine for all of this could be Dr. Shaler and his lovely team. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gopi Bhai, for your address. Anyone would like to share experience or any question?
Yes, Nita Ben.
Yes, Pathak Sai. Namaste.
I fully agree with the Lucia that it is the farmer who can give the answer to the climate change. Because carbon sequestration, if it is being done perfectly, most of the things of the climate can be overcome. Now, what the Dr. Chandrasekhar explained about the SRT, same thing is in rice again, the system of rice transformation SRI. So the same thing is being even included in that. And if we include the more and more carbon in our soil, we have also one experience when I was working on rice at Navagam, that when we added a 6 ton of the FIM to our soil, then the carbon sequestration was very good and the yield was also very good. So the carbon sequestration and the organic addition of the organic matter, that gives a more answer to the farmers so far as the yield point of view is concerned, and the strength and the capability of the plant is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pathak Sai, for your address. Now we come on the end of this event. On behalf of NCCSD, we're thankful to UNFCCC and WFO for allocate the time slots and arrange this event, side event specially. Thanks to all speakers for their support and cooperations for this event. Thanks to all national and international participants for their contributions. Thanks to Dr. Sadamate for the summary and Malai Bhai for the report. Especially thanks to Dr. Shalat, our Executive Chairman of NCCSD, for minute-to-minute guidance for this event. In the end, who are in this event, we're really thankful to them. And I would like to share one line for all. We shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Thank you so much to all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, Lucia.
Thank you, Nisha.
Thank you.